Hello everyone, I'm the Masked Analyst. I'm going to assume that all of you saw my video from a day or two ago about Inmendham and DCJ 999 and the DMCA. If you haven't, then I'm going to post a link in the sidebar and you ought to take a look at it in order to understand what's going on. In addition, Inmendham had made, I'm not sure if I should call it a response, but this video kind of referenced my video, and in this video he talked about filing a lawsuit if anybody whose videos is DMCA'd, if they file a counter DMCA to get their videos put back up, he will actually file a lawsuit against them. So you ought to watch my video and you ought to watch Inmendham's video to understand what's going on. Now Inmendham, I'm going to use the word libel throughout this video. I know you use the word slander, and I know in the past when I've talked about libel, I know you once said that I didn't know what I was talking about because I used the word libel instead of slander. Well, when it comes to this media, the video format, sources are divided as to which term to use, and for our purposes, the difference is so minor, it really doesn't make that big a difference which term we use, but I'm going to use libel. And in fact, under libel, you'd be better off suing under libel than slander anyway, because under libel, damages are kind of assumed. It would be much easier for you to get damages. So I'm going to use the word libel. Now, you say the big thing about BCJ's video that you really didn't like was the Photoshop picture of your face on Hitler's body. And you said that that was slanderous. I'll use the word libelous. Now, whether it's libel or slander, there are several elements you're going to have to prove. And one of those things is that a defamatory statement of fact was made about you. And what I mean by a statement of fact, or a factual statement, it's a statement that can either be, at least in principle, proven true or not true. I can look out the window and there's a statement made that it's raining, and I can look out and I can see whether it's true or it isn't true. It's something that can be proven one way or the other. Now, I'm not sure what the statement of fact was conveyed, what statement was conveyed in the Hitler/Inmendham Photoshop job. The only factual statement that I take away from that picture, or anything that could be construed as a factual statement, is that somehow, despite what all historians have told us, that Adolf Hitler didn't actually kill himself, that somehow or other he survived the bullet through his head as the Allied parties were closing in on his bunker, that he escaped, somehow he hid out all these years, and he has re-emerged all these years later as Inmendham, and that Inmendham is really Adolf Hitler. Now, if that's what he's thinking that people are going to get out of this Photoshop deal, no, I don't think anyone's going to buy that. I don't think anyone's going to believe that that was a statement intended, and if it was, it's so outlandish that nobody's going to possibly believe that. I mean, how could anyone possibly believe that Inmendham is Adolf Hitler? Adolf Hitler had brown hair and a goofy-looking mustache, and Inmendham has goofy blonde hair and no mustache. So no one's possibly going to believe that that was the intended statement, that BCJ really planned on convincing people that this was the case. Now, what did BCJ really mean with that Photoshop picture? Well, let's let him tell us in his own words. This is from the very same movie in which he used the Photoshop picture. I'm using this clip with BCJ's permission.
I don't have to explain myself. I'm going to go ahead and briefly discuss the still shot where I have you depicted as Adolf Hitler. Inmendham, I don't think you are an outright Holocaust denier. The reason why I have you photoshopped as Adolf Hitler is, well, quite frankly, your behavior on YouTube is quite ignorant and very fascist. I find it very disgusting that you go around blocking people who leave positive comments on certain individuals' videos. You know, don't be blocking people who leave comments to me or anyone else. You keep the issue with me, motherfucker, okay? You leave my subscribers or anyone else out of it. You know, grow up.
So, Inmendham, he called you a fascist, and I assume that that's something that you don't like. In fact, I think you may have stated that you didn't appreciate being called a fascist. But fascist, as I mentioned in my previous video, my video response to virtual Holocaust, is a word of nebulous meaning. There is no single definition upon which everyone agrees as far as what its meaning should be. Very popular meaning, one very common meaning, and I urge you to look at the beginning of my previous video. Very common meaning of the word fascist is a bully, or one who asserts authoritarian control, somebody who is over-controlling. This isn't the main definition, it's a secondary definition, but I think if you look at flame wars that have occurred over the internet, that term is thrown about so freely that for all intents and purposes, the usage of that term has overtaken, at least on the internet, the use of the term fascist in its more traditional meanings. And according to the secondary definition, being a bully or someone who asserts authoritarian control, well, Inmendham, you yourself have stated that you've blocked over 200 people from commenting on your channel. And you've sent DMCAs on videos that you don't particularly like. And you've said that you intend to take people to court if they file DMCA counter notices, because according to you, this is libelous and it shouldn't be allowed. Well, if that isn't over-controlling and bullying, I really don't know what is. Seems to me like the very fact that you would take these people to court justifies using the label of fascist in at least the secondary definition of the word. Summing up, you'll have to go to court and prove that BCJ was wrong when he called you a fascist. And you'll be having to use the terminology that he spelled out. The reason why he called you a fascist is because you block so many people, that you're over-controlling. Quite truthfully, I don't think you can get that far. But even if you did get that far, even if you could prove that what BCJ said was not true, that what he said was a factual statement that could be proven true or false, and he was not saying what was true, you have one more hurdle to overcome. I believe you're a public figure within YouTube, and I'm guessing that you would agree to this. After all, you certainly have the ability to use the media to broadcast your message to a lot of people, so that's one aspect. Perhaps more importantly is you've thrust yourself into the public debate, and with hundreds and hundreds of videos, you certainly seem to have been doing a lot of thrusting lately. A lot of controversial videos. You've thrust yourself into controversy, so I believe that makes you a public figure on YouTube. And my guess is, judging from the few videos of yours that I've seen, you probably won't disagree with me on this. Now, if that's the case, then you will not only have to prove that BCJ was in error in his statement about you, but he had to have made that statement with actual malice. Now, actual malice is a legal term. It doesn't mean that he said it because he disliked you or hated you or anything like that. That's not what actual malice means. What actual malice means is that he would have had made that statement knowing that what he was saying was false, or he had to make that statement in reckless disregard for the truth. Basically, that he lied. Not just that he was mistaken, but that he was out and out lying about you. So if you would agree, and if the courts, more importantly, if the courts would agree that you're a public figure, I think that your case would be incredibly hard to prove. Now, maybe you might go sue under other grounds. Maybe you might say that sue for grounds of intentional infliction of emotional harm. Well, if those are the grounds you were thinking of going under, and maybe you weren't, I have no idea, I ask you, if indeed you are a public figure, what distinguishes this between your case and Hustler versus Fallwell, a very famous case in which Hustler magazine published a really defamatory advertisement about Jerry Fallwell. It was obvious parody, but he got really hurt. He sued Hustler, and he lost in court. And I'll post a link to that case in the sidebar. If you're thinking about suing because of intentional infliction of emotional damages or emotional pain, tell me what makes this different from Fallwell. Now I want to switch subjects a little bit, Inmendham. You said that if you would subpoena if you subpoenaed YouTube and asked them for all the text, to search through all the text with the words frivolous lawsuits, 90% of that would have your name attached to it. How did you come up with this? What's your methodology? How did you discover this? I find this interesting because I put the words frivolous lawsuit into a YouTube search engine, and I got about 80 hits or so, and it looked like about 10 or 11 of them had something to do with you. If you put in the phrase frivolous lawsuits and add Inmendham to your YouTube search, you get about 11 hits. Now, I realize that's turning up videos. That's not the same thing as a text search. I quite truthfully don't know how to go back searching through all of the text on YouTube, and if you know how to do this, maybe you've done this already and this is where you got your figures from. If you know how to do this, I would be deeply grateful to you if you would share this with me and everyone else. Now, since I couldn't verify this through the YouTube search engine, I thought, let's take a look through Google, because they can look through all the text of the videos and then they'll turn up stuff. And so I typed in the phrase frivolous lawsuits as a phrase with the quotation marks around, and I added the word YouTube, and I got about 22,000 hits. Now I did another search, exact same thing, the phrase frivolous lawsuits and YouTube, but this time I put in the term Inmendham to narrow it down to see how many hits that would come out, and I got about 45 hits. So you compare, on one hand, without the word Inmendham, you get 22,000 hits. Add the word Inmendham to your search and you get 45. 22,000, 45. Again, if you're going back on YouTube, you're talking about some 80 videos, and only about 10 or 11, only about maybe 11 of them have anything to do with you. So, is it possible? Is it possible, Inmendham? I hate to suggest this for fear that you might sue me, but is it possible that maybe you're stretching the truth just a wee little bit here? I could be entirely wrong, and I'll be more than happy to bow to the wisdom of Inmendham if you could just show me how you came up with that figure. So in summary, I think your odds of prevailing in court, Inmendham, are about the same as that of the Burmese government stepping aside saying, "We've been bad boys. Masked analysts, you have such great wisdom. Please come and run our country." The odds are pretty much the same. This has been the Masked Analyst, under an N. Oh, one last thing. BCJ has withdrawn the video in question, so that might make this whole conversation somewhat moot, but I doubt it, because Inmendham did say that he had DMCA'd 5 videos, so it's possible he may take other people to court. Also, I noticed that somebody, I don't know who, but somebody has reposted BCJ's videos, so I suspect we haven't heard the end of the story yet. So I really don't think that this discussion is moot just yet. Once again, this has been the Masked Analyst, under an N.